Welcome back to another episode of Replay, the show where I review free PS4 games from PS Plus. This is part of my entry to PlayStation Asia's Junior Reporter 2.0. Enough chit chat and let's go!
Mighty Number 9 is brought to us by Keiji Inafune, who had a lot of involvement in major Capcom titles, the producer of most Mega Man games and Dead Rising series. It will be easy to see how this game uses most of the elements from Mega Man series and brings it to a new level. The levels and enemies are very much varied and is designed very well, but don't let these awesome design fool you. This game is really hard, as in capital HARD hard. A new mechanic in this game is the absorption of enemies rather than just blowing them up. Doing so will sometimes give you a short-term ability or buff depending on the enemy. Or you can just use it as a normal dash to quickly move or dodge something. The stages itself is deadly, and I have to say, the devs have been creative with coming up with different ways to kill you without even getting you to the boss. One immediate complaint that I have with this game is that the loading time just takes a while. Every time you die, the loading screen pops up and it takes a few good seconds before it actually comes up. The key to this game is dying enough times to learn and master the stage, and the enemy movements and patterns. This is no different to previous Mega Man games. No matter how good you are with platformer games, I guarantee you will die at least once or twice in a stage. If it doesn't just happen, they will then come up with side bosses during the middle of the stage to help facilitate that. Creative, isn't it? Now, after some grinding, here we are at the gate to the boss. Again, learning from experience and mastering the pattern is key to success. But remember, the absorption mechanism, that applies to bosses too. If you wait too long before absorbing, the bosses recovers its HP. So try to absorb as soon as possible, or else you will definitely regret it. Interestingly, defeating and absorbing the enemies or the bosses doesn't lead to Beck absorbing the actual robot into his body, but rather he ends up purifying them back to their normal selves, and also getting a little bit of a freebie, like usual Mega Man series games. This game is definitely a good platformer game if you enjoy this sort of thing. Up next is Grand Kingdom from Spike Chunsoft. I will define this game as a classic RPG. Say, Final Fantasy Tactics meets the Tales series. Personally, I like how this title creatively defines an RPG game. And yes, there will be a lot of reading, a lot of tutorials that you will have to go through before you can start really enjoying this game. Basically, you start a personal army and hire a number of mercenaries with different jobs and skills into your team. After this, you go on quests and fight enemies to earn experience and improve your skills. Enemy encounters are comparable to the Tales series where you control one character at a time in battle, with set movement and action points to perform different skills and actions. Character and overall design is really good, and it even got my better half's attention. She said it kinda looked like the Atelier series that she loves playing. I think very early on in the game, I was looking for some kind of story that will help get me hooked into the game, but after a few hours of gameplay, I still cannot find it. I believe that is a very important element in a good RPG. Voice acting and dialogue is well designed. The slight character movements helps to engage as well. Earlier, I mentioned you can hire mercenaries into your army. Well, you are the boss, so you can name them and also choose how their starting stats are distributed. I find the different jobs available quite interesting and probably will take up a lot of the time if I choose to play this game more. After the tedious process of hiring your personal mercenaries and equipping your army, it's pretty much back to the field and doing more quests and grinding. Casting some spells and firing long-range arrows kinda reminds me of how the attack mechanisms were for The Legend of the Dragoon, a classic PS1 RPG that I love. After 5 hours of gameplay, I find this game fun and refreshing, and I am encouraged to see new mechanics and ways of playing a traditional RPG. I just hope that in a few more hours in, the proper story is there and that I will get hooked with it. Otherwise, off to the shelves this game goes. Last but not the least is Evolve. I think the simplest way to describe this game is Left 4 Dead meets Team Fortress. Yep, you're right. It's a third-person shooter where 4 hunters are pitted against a huge alien-looking monster that evolves as it feeds. There really isn't anything new about this game, to be honest. The game starts off by putting you in a training mode to learn how to control a huge monster traversing the huge map, attacking, and then feeding. And pretty much pitting you up against some enemies that are, human or animal or whatever they are. After this, you get a chance to train as a human with 3 other hunters to kill the monster. Nothing new there. Now, my main gripe with this game is that there isn't even an attempt to try and create a simple single-player campaign. So, you are pretty much buying a game mainly for its multiplayer modes. The multiplayer modes are probably fun if you have a group of friends who are willing to play the game over and over and over again. If you don't, you are at the mercy of bots and online matchmaking, which sucks because there isn't much people playing this game. Some of you may argue that Overwatch, Battleborn, and a few other games are similar in this aspect. Well, my counter-argument is that those games have more characters and variety that attracts more people to play. But then again, Battleborn is probably not getting as much love compared to Overwatch. In Evolve, you get to choose from a handful of monsters in that side and 4 different classes in the human side. In each class, there is a different character to choose from. The main difference is the character appearance and their equipment that slightly changes the experience. Let me say I hate playing with bots. They don't really play team very well. Well, they're bots. Like reviving you is not their priority in most cases. Hence, you have to move your control to their character for you to revive your own character yourself. Not really fun in my book. In summary, I think Evolve would have thrived in the past where LAN gaming was a thing. In this new online multiplayer generation, it's either you make a truly awesome game or you don't. That's just my 2 cents. This month's PS Plus free games are a little underwhelming and Vault Boy is not very happy. It is probably good for me though, as I was able to invest more time into Monster Hunter World, which is just the amazing game that I was waiting for. Definitely another reason to subscribe to PS Plus.
This concludes this month's episode of Free Play. This is Spiker10 signing off.